As automotive enthusiasts, we're always looking for ways to personalize and customize our cars, making them our own. And one of the easiest ways of doing that is adding a custom exhaust system to your car. However, there's some states that are putting a restriction on the noise levels that you can have for your exhaust. So today we're going to test the decibel level on my TVR Cerbera before and after adding a custom exhaust system to my car. So join me today as we do a little bit of science and make a lot of noise. Welcome to Aaron's Eccentric Garage. In order to test the decibel level of my TVR, I found a location that was wide open and free of any nearby structures that could echo the sound of the exhaust. Using a tripod, I placed the decibel meter at the same height of the tailpipe at a 45-degree angle and 20 inches away. With the meter in place, it was time to test. The next test was to measure the levels while holding at 3,000 RPM. It should be noted that my TVR was already equipped with an ACT sports muffler, making the TVR already louder than OEM. With the baseline test completed, it was time to head back to the garage. So now that I have my TVR up in the air, let's take a look underneath. The two catalytic converters are easily found and are behind this protective metal panel. So prior to starting to work on this, about an hour or two ago, I sprayed every single one of these bolts on this protective panel with penetrating oil, specifically PB Blaster. Now the hope is that these bolts are not going to be rusted in place and that this panel will be able to come off easily, and that way I can have access to my catalytic converters without any big problems. So I'm going to try just my regular 17mm socket and wrench to take it off. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to have to spray a little bit more oil, and hopefully that works, and if not, I'm going to have to take out my impact gun. So now that I have the catalytic converters out of the car, we can clearly see all this up here, which is heat shielding. Because the car is a fiberglass over a tube chassis, the manufacturer added heat shielding specifically underneath the car for the catalytic converters. But because of the extreme heat that catalytic converters create, if you look close, it's really degraded and burnt away some of the actual skin, whereas back here, where it's a little cooler, it's still intact. So thankfully there's still plenty enough of the heat shielding underneath the car where I can feel comfortable putting the pipes back in. But this is something just to kind of show you how hot catalytic converters really get underneath your car and how much it just cooks a TVR chassis and the body itself. After waiting several weeks, my new decap pipes arrived from ACT in England. Because my TVR is over 25 years old and registered as a collector's vehicle in the state of Arizona, these kinds of vehicles do not need to conform to emissions requirements or testing. Before fully installing the new decap pipes, I took some time to clean up the rusty hardware. I discovered that most of the bolts were not in great shape, so I was off to the hardware store. Well, $67 later in stainless steel hardware, it's time to go back to the garage. With the new pipes and panel reinstalled, it was time to take the car out for a drive. Definitely has a popcorn kind of a sound to it.
Yo, what is that?
TVR.
TVR? It's fucking nice, man.
Thank you. Returning to the same testing spot as before, it was time to test the new levels. All right, now that I'm home, the verdict is in. I love the way this car sounds. It sounded good before, but now it sounds even better. It definitely has a lot more pops and bangs than it did before, but it still sounds great, especially as I hit those high RPMs. It actually is so loud that the levels on my microphone went way past, even though they were dialed down. So it definitely is louder, so I hope my neighbors don't hate me. But until next time, thanks for watching.